We welcome everybody into a loud venue. This is about as loud as it gets across the NFL now, and they're excited about the way Brad Childress has this team playing. Percy Harvin is waiting to return the kick. He has taken two all the way this season. This one is angled toward the corner, and a good job by Robbie Gould of avoiding a jolt from Percy Harvin to start the afternoon. Well, here comes the old guy, who's not playing like an old guy, 40 years old. Troy gave you some of the statistics at the top. Percy Harvin is the electrifying rookie, very good offensive line, and really an embarrassment of riches for Brett Favre with where he can go with the football.
And you look at some of the players that he has to throw the football to. Take Sidney Rice, for example. I mean, a guy who until this year hadn't shown a lot, some of that because of injury, but I think Brett Favre has brought out a lot of potential from some of these young players.
Starting with a throw, and it's a safe throw out of the backfield. That's Adrian Peterson. Zachary Bowman able to hang on, a 14-yard catch and run, and Adrian Peterson keeps adding to his single season high. That's his 26th reception. We look at the defense, and a defense that all of a sudden is in the category of pretty average for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and I think that over the last couple of games, for the most part, they've been better. I mean, the couple of games they had that were very poor against Cincinnati, against Arizona. They know, however, if they're going to have a chance to win this game, it really falls on the shoulders of this defense.
Another throw from Favre, who slings it for Sidney Rice. Two good plays to start for the Vikings. That's good for 13. It's a first down for Minnesota, and it's a handoff to Peterson running right. Got to the edge and takes it to the Chicago side of midfield, where Corey Graham made the stop for the Bears. Talk about the numbers for Chicago. They are 13th overall in total defense. They're 23rd against the run, which is bad news when you're taking on a team that has Adrian Peterson as its top back, who is now over 1,000 yards for the season. He's done that every year he's been in the NFL.
Well, in years past with Adrian Peterson, he was the focal point, and defenses would come in and say he's the guy that we've got to slow down. That's still the case, only now Minnesota much more balanced with Brett Favre, and they can beat you through the air, something they couldn't do in years past.
Quick setup and throw, and that pass was tipped by Hillenmeyer. Got back, got his hand up, pass intended for Berrien, and just like that, it's 3rd and 7.
In fact, Lovie Smith, in visiting with him, and when you look at Minnesota offensively, you say, okay, you know, how are we going to match up against these guys? What do we need to take away? And he was real clear. Adrian Peterson will be the best player on the field come Sunday, and we've got to somehow find a way to slow him down, something that's easier said than done.
We welcome in a new audience, and you check in for a 3rd down and 7. Opening possession of the game. 2 first downs. Now on 3rd down, wide open, it's the rookie Harvin. First down, Minnesota at the Chicago 32. 17 yards as Percy Harvin has his 37th catch in his rookie season.
This is what the Bears like to do. You're going to see these linebackers. They're showing that they're going to come on the blitz. They want to try to hold up the guards, but the Vikings sift through that very well. They give Brett Favre great protection in the pocket, and then it's just a matter of finding Percy Harvin in the middle of the field, and that's the area that Percy Harvin has really exposed here in this season as a young rookie wide receiver.
Not a big guy, 5'11", 184, but stays on his feet, doesn't go down easily. Got 17. 3 first downs on this possession. Penalty flag on the play as Adrian Peterson lost 2. And we'll see who this one's against. Our referee today is Walt Coleman.
Offside, 97. Defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Mark Anderson, who came across too early, and it's 1st and 5. This is a game the Chicago Bears need to have. They keep talking about, well, we've got a 6-game season. They're probably just trying to make themselves feel better as they check in at 4 and 6. But this is a game that if they have any hope of doing anything, and avoid missing the playoffs for the third straight season. They've got to win this game. Handoff is to Peterson. Ball comes out. That's what the Bears needed, as the fumble is recovered by Chicago and Alex Brown. Hunter Hillenmeyer knocked it out, and Adrian Peterson, who has now 5 fumbles on the season, coughs it up.
You see Eric Bieniemy, the running backs coach, talking to him. They stand him up, and this is where he's vulnerable. You said it, Joe. He has put the ball on the ground a lot. He does everything so well, but he has not done a very good job throughout his career of protecting the football. They stood him up there. They immediately go after the ball. Hillenmeyer knocks it out, and Alex Brown there to make the play.
That's 14 fumbles over the last 2 seasons for Adrian Peterson. The most across the NFL by a running back. Quick setup and throw, and the pass is complete. That's Earl Bennett. Good for 7. We look at this offense, Troy, for Chicago. The focus is on Jay Cutler. The backs and receivers. How do the Chicago Bears get Jay Cutler into a rhythm early in this game?
Well, they do some of the things like what we just saw here on first down. Some quick passes and try to get him feeling a little bit more confident than what he has shown here in recent weeks. Last week against Philadelphia, had some open receivers, but he's just putting too much pressure on himself and trying to guide the football, and that's why he's not throwing it real well.
And this play goes nowhere but backward. Another one to Earl Bennett. Loss of 2. Cedric Griffin was out there to make the tackle. Antoine Winfield is inactive for the 5th consecutive game with an injury to his right foot. Up front, though, this defensive line is as good as it gets.
They're pretty solid. And then, of course, the pass rush with Jared Allen and the inside push that they get from Kevin Williams. You mentioned Antoine Winfield missing another game today. This team has been healthy for the most part. He's the only defensive starter to miss a game this year.
3rd down and 5. Just get the play away, and the pass is for Olsen. The tight end won't get it. Griffin with help from Chad Greenway. And a gain of 3, and after the fumble and the recovery by Chicago, the offense goes 3 and out.
Well, you block him up and you give your quarterback a chance, but you run Olsen on a route to the sideline to where when he catches it, he still has to be able to turn upfield and get about 3 more yards before he picks up the first down. I think you've got to call something a little deeper, or at least Greg Olsen's got to get a little more depth on that route so that if you complete it, it's a first down.
Ugly punt off the side of the foot, and it checks up, goes backward, down by the Bears outside the 25. That by Brad Maynard was just a 30-yard punt, and it's down at the 26 by Jamar Williams, and it'll be the 2nd series for Brett Favre. The numbers are unbelievable. He has the top quarterback rating in the NFL, and he's coming off a game in which he completed 88% of his throws against Seattle. Yet another new audience just joined us. Welcome in. Vikings move the ball, but an Adrian Peterson fumble on their first possession. There we are with Troy's picture bigger than Pam's picture and my picture. You want to know the pecking order on this crew. And after the fumble, the Chicago Bears went 3 and out. Now the Vikings get it back, starting at their own 26. Favre changed it at the line and slings it to Sidney Rice, who had it go in and out of his hands. Good pass by Brett Favre, but incomplete. 2nd and 10, and Lance Briggs banged up on that last play.
Well, you're going to see Corey Graham right here, number 21. He's on the slot. He had shown that he was going to come on the blitz, and that's when Favre pulled out and audible to a pass, and he had the chance there to Sidney Rice. He just failed to make the catch.
Briggs got up and walked off the field. He looked to be okay. Hyperextended his left knee when he went up to try and knock down that pass from Favre. On first down, it was incomplete to Rice. 2nd and 10. Play action from Favre, who rolls right and airs it out. Sidney Rice downfield, and some contact, no flag, incomplete. Coverage down there by Charles Tillman, who was stride for stride with Sidney Rice.
It was awfully good coverage there by Tillman. You're going to see Sidney Rice. He gets up on him, but he had the whole middle of the field. The safety had come up, and so there was all this area right in through here that if Favre had been able to lead him more to the middle and let Sidney Rice run away from Tillman, you got an opportunity then to make a play.
It's 3rd down and 10.
Sidney Rice, I mean, they talk about him. In fact, even Brett Favre will say, hey, he's not going to outrun anybody. Well, he may not, but he's faster than he gets credit for.
Favre underneath. It's Chester Taylor. And Chester Taylor is wrapped up short of 1st down yardage by Corey Graham. And so now 3 and out on the other side. And doing that against a Vikings offense that's number 2 in the NFL, averaging over 30 points per game, which really takes the pressure off this good Minnesota Vikings defense. There's Brad Childress. He's already felt the Favre effect with a contract extension that takes him through 2013.
And he can probably thank Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, for Favre coming here.
Fair catch and a muff punt, but getting back on top of it is Devin Hester. There's the NFC North. Vikings leading the way at 9-1. They took apart Green Bay in their 2 meetings. In fact, the guy out at right end for the Minnesota Vikings almost single-handedly took them apart, Jared Allen, with his 7.5 sacks against Green Bay. He's number 1 in the NFC with 10.5 sacks. And he is part of that very good defensive front for the Vikings as Matt Forte carried it. And Pat Williams made the stop, a gain of 2.
Interesting what Chicago tried to do there. They went 3 wide receivers hoping they could get Pat Williams off the field and that they could run the ball. But that happens a lot against the Minnesota Vikings. So not always when a team goes to 3 wide will they take him out, especially on early downs. And he was in on that 1st down run and made a nice play.
2nd and 8 and a toss to Forte running left. Little room to run for Forte, and then he lunges forward. He's a half-yard short of a 1st down. So Antoine Winfield, pictured there, is inactive, as is Anthony Herrera, starting right guard for the Vikings. On offense, Artis Hicks makes the start there, and Desmond Clark out with a bad neck for the Bears.
Well, Winfield having missed the last several games, and it looked like he was going to play today, but he had a setback in practice. And you know, as well as this team has been playing, they just don't want to risk not having him down the stretch in December and then into January.
Here is Forte, and it depends on the spot. Didn't look like he got it. He did not. And this tremendous run defense holds on 3rd and less than 1. Now a penalty flag comes in, and it could be for too much celebration. Benny Sapp was back on the Chicago side of the ball and was dancing around, and then they threw a flag awfully late. So who knows what that call is. We'll get it momentarily from Walt Coleman. It certainly looked like Forte was stopped short of the 1st down. We're going to get a measurement for that part of it, but no call yet on what the penalty is, as I guess they'll assess after they figure out if Forte got enough for the 1st down. But he certainly looked to be short. They'll bring the chains out.
You see the middle of that offensive line, they just fail to get any kind of push. That's been the thing that has hurt them throughout this season. No interior push, you know, from the guard's position, and you're not going to get a lot of movement facing this Minnesota team inside, as we talked about with Pat Williams and Kevin Williams, and they fail to pick up that 1st down. And we'll find out now what the penalty was about.
They act like they're not going to announce it. But he's looking at the Minnesota side, so it was against Chicago,
illegal
and they'll just decline
substitution,
it.
95 on the offense, failed to report as an eligible receiver. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
So an awfully late flag, but it was for Anthony Adams, not reporting as an eligible receiver. So that's what the flag was for, not on Sapp for celebrating back on the Chicago side of the ball. And it's 2 3-and-outs offensively for the Bears here in this 1st quarter. Raynaud is waiting deep for the punt from Maynard. This one is much better. And it takes a good Chicago bounce and will go out of bounds inside the 5. Vikings will start at their own 4-yard line. Third possession for Minnesota. First one ended on an Adrian Peterson fumble and a punt. And now where's this one headed? Brett Favre hands off. Peterson fights his way out across the 5, knocked down at the 8. Nick Roach on the stop. And for Brett Favre, who is 22-10 in his career against the Chicago Bears, but not good against Lovie Smith, it's 2nd down and 6.
And we talk about Brett coming into this game and having played against him and stood opposite of him back when he was winning league MVPs and I was still playing. And then going back and studying him over the last several years, and then today, he's still doing the same things. You couldn't tell me that he has slowed down one bit from where he was 15 years ago. Pretty remarkable.
Another carry, and well played by the Chicago defense as Adrian Peterson gets nothing. Tommy Harris was in there, as was the strong safety Afalava. And it's 3rd down coming up. Brett Favre won 3 straight MVP awards. 95, 96, 97. The 96 year was when the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. 97, he shared it with Barry Sanders, and he could very well win his 4th. The same city where the American League MVP resides, Joe Mauer from Major League Baseball. Sprinting out to his right, wide open, is Sidney Rice for a Vikings 1st down. "15-yard completion on 3rd down.
Well, Chicago going with a 4-man rush. They move the pocket with Brett Favre, and this is pretty easy. I mean, he's got Sidney Rice right out in front of him to make the completion after he goes in motion. Because of that, they're not able to get the jam on him like they were on the other receivers. That's one of the reasons why you go to the motion, is to keep a defensive back from being able to come up and jam you. But he gets a free release with Favre moving out to his side, and a nice 1st down.
Handoff is not given. Now it's dropped off to Chester Taylor. Fake the handoff to Chester, and then Chester good for 10. Troy, you stepped out. I read in USA Today where you picked the San Diego Chargers to win the AFC West.
I picked them to go to the Super Bowl too.
Did you?
I did, back in August.
On 1st down, Favre trying to set up a screen. He gets it to Chester Taylor, and Briggs makes the stop. Taylor knocked down just shy of midfield, and Favre pops up after getting swallowed up by the Chicago Bear defense, and Alex Brown is the one that's slow getting up.
Well, here's Alex Brown. Brian McKinney, the one trying to slow him down, does not do much of a job on that. He gets a good lick there on Brett Favre, and Alex Brown was, as we saw, he was the slow one getting up as he clutches his right shin.
Favre stands in and now goes over the middle. Pass is bobbled and dropped by Adrian Peterson.
You mentioned Adrian Peterson and how right now he has a single season high in receptions, and we've still got 4 or 5 games left to go this year. And you hate to credit Brett Favre for everything, but I do think that his numbers are up because Brett is one of those quarterbacks who's very likely to come underneath on the checkdowns. We saw it there in Green Bay when he had Amon Green. There were a number of times Amon Green had 60, 70 receptions in a season. Now Adrian Peterson isn't to that point, but he definitely gets the running backs involved in this passing game.
Delayed handoff. It's Adrian Peterson, full head of steam, and a 1st down for the Vikings at the Chicago 36, a 15-yard run.
Adrian Peterson starts off to the right. It's a power play right there, and then he's able to just cut back. Great block there by Nafa'au Tahi to spring Peterson then on the cutback. And then when he gets out in the open field, I mean, I'd hate to be one of those guys out there trying to stop him. In fact, talking with Lance Briggs and some of these defensive players, it is almost impossible to bring him to the ground one-on-one when he is in the open field.
That was movement by the right guard, Artis Hicks.
False start, 79. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Hicks is making his 19th start at right guard for Minnesota, his first since 2007. Anthony Herrera hadn't missed a start since taking over game 5 of that 2007 season. He's out with a concussion.
Yeah, they've remained relatively healthy overall. And we talked about on the defensive side of the ball, Antoine Winfield, missing the only defensive starter to miss a game. And there hasn't been many starters miss time here on the offensive side either.
On 1st and 15, Adrian Peterson was patient, found room to run, picked up 8. Kevin Payne on the tackle for the Bears.
Well, some of the things that we're seeing from Minnesota and their ability to run the football and throw the ball are the things that Chicago does not do very well. On that play, Visante Shenko, a tight end, does a great job of blocking the edge and then allowing Adrian Peterson to run off of that. That's an area where Chicago struggles, is blocking the edge with their tight end game. Also, second and long, able to hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson and keep it in short down and distances. These are all the things that you expect from a good offensive unit.
Second down and 7. Favre gets hit as he let it go, and the pass is incomplete for Percy Harvin. It's 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, and that's something that you really haven't seen a lot of this year, with Brett Favre having an open receiver running up the seam, Percy Harvin, and a throw that just got away from him. I mean, a ball that if Percy Harvin had timed a little bit better, maybe he's able to make that catch. Not an easy catch for him to make, but Brett Favre has been amazingly accurate this year. In fact, last week in that win against Seattle, completed 88% of his passes.
Third down and 7. Favre steps up and slings it wide open as Berrien. First down, Chicago inside the 10.
Chicago completely busts the coverage over to that side. They're in a cover 2 defense, and they're able to get in behind it, but they don't get the corner sloughing on the route. You see that hole in the zone, and you've either got to carry that then with the corner, or you've got to get more help from the safety over the top in order to defense that play. That was about as easy as it gets.
On 1st and goal, a toss. Adrian Peterson running left, nowhere to go to the 5. That's it. This Minnesota team offensively is number 7 in the NFL in the red zone. They score touchdowns 60% of the time. And it's 2nd and goal after Peterson picked up a yard.
Yeah, and then they're going up against a defense in Chicago that is one of the worst in stopping teams once they get inside the red zone. How do you think this will fare?
Yeah, Chicago's 30th red zone defense. How that Bears defense has fallen. 2nd and goal. I formation, and they reverse it to Berrien. Like he's going to throw, and he lobs it. Incomplete, and they'll throw a flag. Shenko, the intended receiver, and Afalava never turned around. Ugly but effective.
Well, run pass option there.
Pass interference, 24. Defense. Foul occurred in the end zone. Will place the ball at the 1-yard line. First down.
It was a run pass option. Visante Shenko at tight end. He looks like he's going to block, and then he comes off of that, and Afalava actually is in a pretty good position. Normally they get fooled and then they're not in very good coverage, but he was there. Berrien taking a big lick at the end of that one. But if Afalava had just turned around, he was there to make a play.
Now 1st and goal from the 1. Peterson gets it. Penalty flag on the play. The Peterson just takes it back to the line of scrimmage. And you can see the indication is offside. So they'll get half the distance and they'll get first down again. And the first quarter has come to an end.
Offside, 93. Defense, half the distance to the goal. We will extend the quarter for the defensive foul on the last play.
One of the officials has to run all the way back down the field. He was getting a head start. He was going to win the race and get down to the other end, but now he has to come back, and it'll be first and goal areas all the way down the other end zone.
Well, hopefully he didn't get his exercise in this morning, because if he did, he's doing double time.
Word on Alex Brown, leg injury. His return is questionable. It's first and goal from the half-yard line for Minnesota, trying to strike first here in a game the Chicago Bears desperately need.
This was always an area of the field when Favre was at Green Bay, especially with Holmgren, to where they would throw it off play action. But when you've got Adrian Peterson, I don't know that you do anything other than just turn and hand him the ball.
Peterson has 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. They do roll right. Favre is in trouble, and down he goes, and a play is made by the rookie Afalava. It was barely out of our mouths talking about the presence of Adrian Peterson being able to pound it in from half a yard out, and the Vikings tried to throw it and lost 15 yards on a sack by Afalava, so they have second and goal from the 15.
Yeah, a ball that Favre should have been able to throw away and not take that loss.
Now an empty backfield behind Favre, and he goes over the middle. Touchdown, Percy Harvin.
Actually had an opportunity to get the ball to Harvin earlier than what he did. Percy Harvin runs a nice route. He sets up the defender and then cuts across his face for a pretty good lane there for Brett Favre, but Brett does get back to him eventually and is able to fit that in.
For Harvin, his 5th receiving touchdown. You saw the note, 500th total. About a season-long 96-yard drive for the Vikings. Drive that took just under 7 minutes off the clock. Percy Harvin gets the touchdown. And it ends on that 15-yard touchdown throw from Brett Favre, and now the Bears have to try and answer. Danielle Manning on the return. Manning still going. Still going. What a return by Danielle Manning. 44-yard return. That's his longest of the season. How about that? 10 first downs for the Vikings. For the Bears, nada. Starting at their own 46. Down by 7. Khalil Bell, the rookie, is in. And the pass is a quick throw to Greg Olsen. Ball comes out. And they're saying Olsen was down. No fumble. And it's a 6-yard catch for Olsen, the active tight end for the Bears.
You go back and take a look at that touchdown. The Bears are in too deep right here. So you've got Percy Harvin, who has to beat that defender, Corey Graham, because he's got the whole middle of the field and an excellent route, sticking him to the outside and then coming underneath. The one area that Corey Graham cannot allow him to go is to the middle of the field. That's the weakness of that defense.
Cutler throws and completes. That's Olsen again. He's to the Minnesota 39, and the Bears have their first down of the game. Cutler started this game 5 for 5. He throws, and there he is again. That's 3 in a row to the tight end Olsen, who gets 8. Greenway on the tackle for the Vikings.
Well, and that's the one guy that Jay Cutler seems to have confidence in, is Greg Olsen. I mean, going back and watching him, when I watch Jay Cutler, I see a quarterback that doesn't have confidence. He's going to get protection, number one. And then secondly, he doesn't trust that the receivers are going to be where he expects them to be, with the exception of Greg Olsen. They seem to have developed some chemistry, and that's the guy he looks for, and that's who he's been hitting here on this drive.
Here's a pass that is complete. Catch is made for 6 yards. Aromashadu made the grab, and he is a big body, 6'2", 201, and that's just his second catch of the season, and that was an athletic grab, able to hang on with Griffin on him.
That's a heck of a catch, and that's the guy that Jay Cutler, I think, would like to see playing more than he has been. And Chicago going to a no huddle, not a hurry up, but working from the line of scrimmage on this possession.
Perfect start throwing it for Jay Cutler, and that ends right here as the pass is behind Earl Bennett. Second and 10. Cutler throws, end zone. It is caught by Knox for the touchdown. A flag is down at the 24-yard line. It's against Minnesota. The touchdown will stand, and a perfect throw from Jay Cutler.
Offside, 91 defense. That penalties decline. Touchdown.
Yeah, this is what Jay Cutler failed to do last week against Philadelphia with a number of open receivers that would have scored touchdowns. Here he's got Johnny Knox, and it's not bad coverage by Benny Sapp. But you see that Knox gives him a pretty good place to lay the football, and Cutler put it in that corner absolutely perfectly.
24-yard touchdown throw from Jay Cutler, who has his 16th as a Bear, to go with his 18 picks. Touchdown drive was set up by a 44-yard kick return by Danielle Manning. All 6 plays on the drive were passes. Cutler 5 of 6, 54 yards, and then the touchdown to Johnny Knox, the rookie. Having a very good rookie season for Chicago, and now the kick is over the head of Harvin, and he will down it. Vikings will start at their own 20 in a 7-7 game. Good drive put together by Chicago to answer. And now we'll see what the 8th ranked offense in the NFL can do.
Head over here.
Handoff is to Percy Harvin, running right, showing off his speed, and he's out of bounds inside Chicago territory at the 45. A 35-yard run by the rookie Harvin.
Well, you get the ball into Percy Harvin's hands any way that you can, and you got Artis Hicks, who's going to also pull out, and he does a good job of leading the way. And watch how Percy Harvin kind of sets him up. He starts to the outside, which helps seal that block. It allows Artis Hicks to make a pretty easy block, and then Harvin cutting off of that block. Good execution there by that offensive line.
Longest run by a mile for Harvin this season, 35 yards. And Favre throws. Sidney Rice makes the catch, and he is dragged down, but Rice lunges for a Minnesota first down. We go back to the Chicago touchdown.
Yeah, I just want to show you the job that Kevin Williams does right here at defensive tackle, and Jay Cutler has gotten used to this. I mean, so many times when he drops back, he's taken a hit right underneath the chin, and I can't even begin to tell you how many times he's not seen whoever's caught a touchdown or whoever's caught a reception, for that matter, and he has taken a lot of hits throughout this year. You talk about playing quarterback in this league. It's hard under normal circumstances, darn near impossible when you're getting hit the way he has been.
Bowman coming on a blitz, and the pass incomplete for Schenko.
I tell you, you talk about great quarterback play, Brett Favre and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and all them. Phillip Rivers, to me, is playing just about as well as any of them.
Second down and 10. Favre sets up and throws and completes. That's Berrien. Talking to Brad Childress, you look at the numbers for Bernard Berrien, and Childress said I told Brett Favre, I sold you as an equal opportunity thrower, meaning you spread it around. Why aren't you throwing more to Bernard Berrien? And Brett Favre will tell you it's more his fault than Bernard Berrien's.
Yeah, and you know, Bernard Berrien last year provided this team a real deep threat. He's still capable of that. Now he's had hamstring injuries to both legs that have really slowed him down. But while he's been down, Favre has just developed this connection with Sidney Rice, and it has been special to watch.
3rd down and 3. Pass complete, and there's Rice. Why not keep throwing his direction? 11 yards and a Viking 1st down. And you look at this, Troy, from the other side as we watch the replay. Chicago gets the touchdown. And the Vikings, against this Bears defense, they're moving it right down the field, and they're in position to regain the lead.
And in visiting with Lance Briggs prior to the game, you know, he said, hey, it's not a lot different now in Chicago than what it was in previous years. That if we're going to win, then we've got to put it on the shoulders of our defense. And that's how this team feels coming in. And, you know, they've not done their job. They got the turnover, but Minnesota has put together now their 2nd big drive.
2nd straight time in the red zone. It's Harvin. Harvin is hit by Roach, and a gain of 4. You think about Percy Harvin, and there's so much conversation about the spread offense in college and how it's changing the way players are evaluated. You look at somebody like Harvin, Gators used all over the field, running and spreading him out wide, in the slot, just any way to get the ball in his hands, and he's been used for the most part the same way here with the Vikings.
And this Vikings organization was criticized somewhat when they made that pick, you know, feeling that there were some other needs. But as Brad Childress said, you know, we have a philosophy that we cannot acquire enough playmakers. And boy, has he been one.
Yeah, that's worked out. Here's Peterson over the left side. Adrian Peterson to the 10. It'll be 3rd down for the Vikings in this 7-7 game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think Rick Spielman, the general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, has done a phenomenal job of developing this team. Think about it. You know, they draft Adrian Peterson. Some people thought they should have gone and got a wide receiver at that time, that they had Chester Taylor coming off a 1,200-yard season. They had so many other needs, you know, and he's been nothing but sensational. Of course, going and getting Jared Allen, Steve Hutchinson, then this year bringing in Brett Favre, but also Sidney Rice. I mean, I don't know that you can say enough for the way that they have assembled this roster in the last 3 to 4 seasons.
It's 3rd down and 3. Favre keeps it, drops it off for Taylor. Chester Taylor into the end zone. Touchdown. And a quick answer from the Vikings after the Bears had just tied it.
Boy, they make it look easy, don't they? They've got so many different ways to come at you. And when they're able to put Adrian Peterson on the sideline and then bring in Chester Taylor, who can really pretty much do it all. And it's just off play action. It's just a breakdown there defensively. You know, nothing real tricky in what Minnesota did, and just were able to get outside contain and get the touchdown.
And for Brett Favre, his 2nd touchdown throw. 8-play drive covering 80 yards. And Troy, this Vikings offense already has 225 yards, total yards, with 8 minutes left in the first half. You're right, Brett Favre has made it look easy. He has never had the weapons he has around him now with the Vikings. And running back to wide receiver, here's Johnny Knox after a good return by Manning. That ball came out. They're ruling that a fumble. They're ruling it a fumble, and the Vikings have it. Eric Frampton knocked it out, and Johnny Knox coughed it up. Let's take another look and see if he was down or if it's a fumble. He's on the body. His hand is down. I don't think he's down.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, you're right. His hand was down. That doesn't count. Nothing else was on the ground because he lands on Frampton. He's still not to the ground. The ball clearly comes out. That's a fumble, and it's Minnesota's ball.
Heath Farwell got the recovery as he was there. The ball just popped into his arms. Your hand does not make you down, and that's the only part of the body, the left hand by Johnny Knox. It went to the turf. He rolled over on the body of Frampton, and the turnover puts the ball at the Chicago 31.
And I think Johnny Knox, because he landed on Frampton, I think when he came off the sidelines, the way he was talking there to the coaches was, he felt that he was down, but he certainly was not.
And now here comes a challenge by Lovie Smith. But there is nothing in that replay that says the Bears will get the ball back. But he's going to challenge
Chicago is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
Momentarily we'll get the call from Walt Coleman. That moment is now.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a fumble recovered by Minnesota. First down. Chicago will be charged with their first team timeout.
I still don't understand why these head coaches just throw away timeouts like that.
Well, I don't either. I mean, you're just kind of grasping, I guess. Well, if there's just a slight chance, but as we showed, there was no chance on that one to be overturned. And a game like this, I mean, Lovie came out and made it very clear this is a must-win game for this Chicago team. I mean, in essence, they're in playoff mode from here on out.
Blitz coming from Chicago. Vikings pick it up. End zone. Pass incomplete for Bernard Berrien. And we talked about what Berrien has done. He's coming to Minnesota last year. Berrien averaged over 20 yards per reception, which was second best in the NFL. I mentioned the hamstring injuries have slowed him a bit, but really he's not shown all that he's capable of doing for Brett Favre. And I said earlier, and it's the truth, whether it's Harvin, Adrian Peterson, Sidney Rice, Bernard Berrien, the tight end Schenko, Favre has never had this weaponry around him in the NFL. 2nd and 10. Here is Peterson, and a good play made by Tommy Harris. Loss of 2.
Tommy Harris, who in the middle of the season had not been playing very well. I don't know how healthy he was. He's been coming back from a number of injuries, but here over the last 2 to 3 ball games, he's been much more disruptive, even fighting through a hole there to make a play. And that is the one position on the Chicago defense that they have to have a disruptive force. They're over the tackle. They call that the 3 technique, but they need that 3 technique defensive player to be a disruptive player. Tommy was that guy early in his career, but because of injury, he has not been, but he's slowly starting to get back to form. I don't know that he's ever going to get back to where he once was.
Another blitz. Favre backpedaling throws, and it's almost intercepted. Anderson back there to bat it away, and so the defense steps up for Chicago after the turnover by Knox.
Hadn't seen a lot of pressure so far in this game by Chicago, but this time here they come. They bring Lance Briggs and then Afalava, the safety, off the edge, and they're able to get in Favre's face, force him to get the ball out of his hands. We've seen it all year long. When he has had time, he's been unstoppable. The only chance any team has had against him is when they've been able to get pressure and force him to get it out sooner than he'd like.
52-yard drive by Longwell, and the Vikings turn the turnover into 3 points. Longwell now 2 for 2 from 50 or more this season, and Johnny Knox, who coughed it up, watches Longwell convert to make it 17-7.
You talk about Chicago and some of the issues that they have offensively. Of course, Jay Cutler, that's been well dissected here over the last couple of weeks. He needs some help. He needs some help with a running game, and every yard that they get is really pretty much because of him being able to throw the football, and that's hard on any quarterback.
Daniel Manning from basically the goal line, back returning kicks, and he's to the 20. That's it. Cutler with play action, throws, and wide open is Devin Hester. Makes the catch, and he's forced out at the 42. Hester is not a #1 receiver. I think the Chicago Bears have to go into the offseason looking for somebody to take some of the load off Hester. It's not to say Hester's not a good NFL receiver, and he's tried to change his career path. But they need more help for Cutler, who's not throwing to Brandon Marshall and Eddie Royal in this offense as he did last year with the Broncos. On first down, Cutler throws. There is Olsen, and the tight end is out to the 46. Olsen is a weapon, and as you said earlier, the one guy that Cutler really seems to trust and at times try and force it to.
Yeah, well, it's the guy that he has confidence in, and I think to go back to what you were talking about with Devin Hester, I agree. I mean, he's made a nice transition over to the wide receiver position for a guy who was really a defensive back and a special teamer. But that's a hard transition, and I think it's unrealistic for any football guy to think that he can come in then and be a featured wide receiver in this league.
Here's Forte. Great rookie season last year for Forte. At 1,200 yards rushing. It's been a different story this season as he gains 4 to bring up 3rd and 1, and the Bears need something to happen on this drive.
And I think that's been part of their problem, Joe, has been that they just have not gotten enough out of their running game. And you know, when you're 2nd and 10 and you can hand off the ball and pick up 4 or 5 yards, I mean, that is really helpful. And this is a big 3rd down for this point in the ball game.
Forte 4 carries, 13 yards. It's 3rd and 1. Throwing on 3rd and 1. Cutler hits Olsen, and Olsen has a first down at the Minnesota 45. Good throw, good catch, and a conversion on 3rd and 1.
Well, they better get Orlando Pace some help, because Jared Allen is just going right through him and then gets the hit on Jay Cutler. Not a real deep drop. He's only going at 5 steps, not asking Orlando Pace to hold the block very long. And yet Cutler's still on his back. Never saw Olsen make the catch.
Olsen has 6 catches. Jared Allen gets to work on this artificial surface, a faster surface against an aging tackle, Orlando Pace. And there he goes again. Pass is incomplete, and it was Orlando Pace who was giving ground to Jared Allen, and that forced Cutler out to his right.
You know, Orlando Pace has had himself a heck of a career there with the St. Louis Rams, but he's winding down fast here in Chicago, and he has been very inconsistent. And I'm surprised, even though they're getting the ball out, trying to get it out anyway very quickly, Orlando Pace needs help against one of the premier pass rushers in the game.
That is another glaring weakness and issue for this Chicago Bears team, is this offensive line. Last 2 drives for the Bears, they've thrown it 10 times, run it only once. 2nd and 10. Pass is complete on a screen to Forte. Kevin Williams couldn't bring him down. Forte gets it down to the 39, a gain of 6, and a better percentage play coming up on 3rd and 4. 6-yard screen to Matt Forte, who comes in with 399 yards receiving, 2nd highest total among NFL running backs.
Well, some of their best pass plays this year have been the screen pass there to Matt Forte.
Bears are not in field goal range. Cutler gets rid of it in a hurry, completes to Forte. First down, Chicago. Heavy pressure on Jay Cutler, who hung in and completed it for 10 yards to Matt Forte.
The Vikings, they hug tight with their linebackers, trying to hold in those offensive guards, not allow them to give any help to their tackles, but Cutler is able to get the ball out quickly to Matt Forte and pick up that first down.
At the Viking 29. Pass complete to Olsen, catch number 7. Greenway on the stop. And it's been a very crisp start throwing the ball for Jay Cutler in this game.
Yeah, I was talking about it. Hey, I'm not trying to defend Jay Cutler, because he has struggled and he has to play better than what he has. But we're witnessing it right here, that they're only as good as his ability to throw the football, because they're not getting a lot of other things, particularly out of their running game. And they haven't been a real explosive team, you know, in creating a lot of big plays.
Cutler has started 14 of 16, now throws for Knox, and he's picked off by Cedric Griffin. Well covered, underthrown, and an interception for Cutler. A career-high 19th on the season for Jay Cutler.
And unfortunately, too many of them this year have been on this end of the field to where you're not at least coming away with 3 points. And, you know, he tries to give Johnny Knox a chance. This is excellent coverage here by Cedric Griffin. One, the ball's got to be out there a little bit further, as we saw on the first touchdown pass to Johnny Knox. If he gets that one out further, he's got an opportunity, but a heck of an athletic move there by Cedric Griffin going up and making that play.
Second turnover for Chicago, and this one out of the hand of Jay Cutler. 16 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. It's still a 10-point game, and a toss to Peterson. Running right. Adrian Peterson gets enough for a first down before Hillenmeyer shoves him out of bounds.
You know, you think about it, Joe, as bad as it has been in terms of the turnovers and the interceptions, if they had just a couple of interceptions and had been able to settle for field goals against Green Bay, they probably beat Green Bay in week 1. They probably beat San Francisco. Then a few weeks ago, they'd be sitting here at 6-4. I mean, as bad as it's been, they could have won at least 2 games and maybe even 1 or 2 more.
Cutler's numbers are so poor in the red zone. Been a big problem for the Chicago offense as Favre steps up down the middle, and that was almost intercepted by Hillenmeyer after it was drilled off the chest of Schenko. How's the fastball?
Yeah, that was straight heat right there. And Favre hasn't lost anything on his fastball. Schenko was running through the middle of this defense just wide open, and Brett Favre just reared back and uncorked one. And I hope he's got some kind of chest protector on, because otherwise he's going to have a heck of a bruise tomorrow.
And Favre had told us that Schenko is not a hands catcher. He's more of a body catcher.
Yeah,
and
that's an understatement.
Thing took a chip out of his shoulder pad. 2nd and 10. A blitz coming. Bears watch Favre just flip it forward for Adrian Peterson, a gain of 4. How about since turning 40 years old, Brett Favre on October 10th, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of over 120. Third down and 6. Good pocket for Favre, and the pass broken up. No penalty flag. Burying the intended receiver, and Corey Graham got his hand in there and broke it up. It's 4th down.
Corey Graham, who got beat earlier by Percy Harvin for the touchdown. I thought this was good coverage. He's locked up man-to-man there on Bernard Berrien on the square end. Got tangled up a little bit, but I didn't see anything there that warranted a pass interference. Just good coverage there by Corey Graham.
Vikings now 5 of 8 on 3rd downs. They'd scored on their 3 previous drives. Now Kluwe to punt. Hits one off the side of his foot, trying to keep it away from Devin Hester. Doesn't do it as Hester gets it on a bounce. But he takes it out to the 25. Here is a pass complete. That's Earl Bennett. And Bennett is brought down just inches shy of a first down at the 34+. I agree with you. It probably does. 2 timeouts left for Chicago. They would have 3, but a challenge didn't work out for Lovie Smith. Cutler in trouble, and down he goes. Penalty flag on the far side of the field as Jimmy Kennedy came in to get the sack, but will check the marker.
Now this time outside, Pace does a good job on the outside, but then they don't hold up inside with Jimmy Kennedy. He's got a
offside, nose tackle, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
So on 2nd and inches, instead of the sack by Kennedy, it's an offside on Kevin Williams.
We'll see here if he well, there it is, and that was on Kennedy that wound up jumping.
Yeah, they said 93. I think they meant 73. Either way, it's a first down up at the Chicago 40. That negates the first Vikings sack of the day. They lead the NFL in sacks. Getting rid of it quickly. That's Forte. Does a nice job to eventually get out of bounds. Got a first down and picked up 15 yards, and a good effort from Matt Forte.
Good hard running there after the catch. You're going to see, I mean, this guy's he's a physical runner. I mean, he can do a lot of different things, and we see it from him, and we've seen it already with his ability to catch the football. Nice job of getting some extra yards and then getting out of bounds. The Bears are now huddling, and that is something that we've really not seen much of here in this first half. For the most part, they've been working out of a no-huddle operation.
It was Mediu Williams who missed on that first tackle effort. And it's first down at the Minnesota 45. Cutler stays on his feet and will get out of bounds. Minute 6 left, and now with 2 timeouts, plenty of time left on the clock to do something about this 10-point deficit. That was an 8-yard run by Cutler, who threw an interception in the end zone to Cedric Griffin. Another one of those high draft picks for Spielman, second rounder out of Texas in '06, who was recently signed to a contract extension during the spring.
Well, you think back now to that interception that he threw to Cedric Griffin, and you know what they missed by not having at least 3 more points on the board.
2nd and 2. Over the middle, in the air, picked off by Jared Allen. Tries to lateral, may have thrown it forward. They throw a flag on that lateral attempt by Jared Allen, and who comes away with a football? No signal yet, and the officials get together. It looks like Asher Allen came away with a football, but they threw a flag as Allen tossed it forward.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Joe, I thought there should have been pass interference even before all that.
We have an illegal forward pass, 69 on the return team. 5-yard penalty. That'll be a first down. It is an incomplete pass.
You're going to see E.J. Henderson, the linebacker, who is the one who drives on this. Here's E.J. Henderson, and there is contact there on Bennett well before the ball arriving.
I don't know why referee Walt Coleman said it's an incomplete pass. It was an intercepted pass by Jared Allen, and it was that contact on Bennett by E.J. Henderson that shot it up into the air, and the interception for Jared Allen. First pick of the season for Allen as Favre slings it for Schenko. And a timeout taken by the Vikings as they have 2 left. And a first down at the Chicago 49. We step back and look around the league in the early game headliners. Peyton Manning, 27 of 35, a comeback effort and a win for the unbeaten Indianapolis Colts. Chris Redman, how about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, Chris Redman has not played here much in recent years, and for him to come off the bench and do what he did and bring that team back, that's impressive. And you know, Peyton Manning, gosh, I mean, we're seeing that each and every week. They spotted Houston 14 points, and for them to still come back and win that game, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's very consistent.
Amazing. It is amazing.
How about who's breathing a bigger sigh of relief than Andy Reid tonight at the end of that game, where they had to rally and come back at a 2-point conversion, then in essence a game-winning field goal after trying an onside kick to start the game against the Redskins?
I didn't like that at all. You do that against a team that you know you're not better than. That's something Chicago could have done in this game to kick, you know, to start off. But not Philadelphia against Washington.
Blitz coming, quick throw, and it's Berrien on the reception. I mean, Favre, this always turns into a Favre love fest anytime any broadcast crew shows up, but he's getting pressure in his face, blitz right up the middle, throws it before Berrien gets out of his break, and it's a perfect pass.
Well, and that's why some teams are reluctant to come after Favre, because even if you do get pressure on him, he does a good job of getting the ball out of his hands. Even though he has taken some sacks, they have been sacks that he's just hung onto the ball too long. It has not been a reflection of this offensive line. They have done a great job up front of protecting for him. But, you know, when you play 19 years in the league, you're just not going to fool this guy.
2nd down and 1. Favre throws, completes to Berrien on this side of the field. First down for Minnesota at the 35. Already leading by 10. Favre throws it. Pass is caught. Sidney Rice. With 35 seconds left, Rice down to the 2.
Well, we saw Favre. He went with the hard count, and you're going to see him signal out to Sidney Rice right here. He gives him the hand, and it's a signal to Rice to run the go route. And he's got Bowman on him and a back shoulder throw. I mean, I don't know that it matters where you throw it to this guy. He's going to make a play.
Yeah, Favre said, I'll throw it to him when he's covered. It doesn't matter because he's going to go up and outfight the defender for the football, and the Vikings are now over 300 yards of offense in this first half.
I'll tell you, the jury was out on Sidney Rice after his first couple of years, but Brett Favre, having confidence in him, has made him one heck of a player. I mean, now everybody looks at Sidney Rice and you say, gosh, you know, why would you not have drafted him? I mean, he's unbelievable. Not the fastest guy in the world, but you know, when you get a receiver that will go up and make plays even when he's covered, as Sidney Rice has done for Brett Favre, yeah, I mean, that's a quarterback's best friend. Yeah, and there's offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell, and I touched on it a little bit earlier. He spent 6 years as the quarterback coach for Brett Favre in Green Bay, and he came here as offensive coordinator when Childress got the job, and Brett Favre made it real clear, without Darrell Bevell, I'm not in Minnesota.
Hand off to Peterson, and Peterson gets a yard. That's it. Vikings have one timeout, and they use it here. Second and goal. You and I better be careful. Frank Caliendo will have us in his next routine about Brett Favre. I mean, here's a guy.
Well, I mean, hey, he is the story right now of the league. I mean, it's amazing, really. I mean, there are so few athletes. I mean, think about it in any sport that at his age, 40 years old, are playing at that level. I spoke about it a little bit earlier. I'm telling you, I mean, I played against this guy in big games. I've seen him up close. I've been following him over the last 9 years now as a broadcaster. He looks no different to me today than he did back in the mid-90s. That's remarkable. Typically, it's your legs that leave you. I mean, not your arm strength or anything like that. But he still makes plays with his legs. And he, you know, early in his career, he was not a big workout guy. I mean, he's not the guy who took great care of his body at one time.
Doing all this after they snipped his biceps tendon in his throwing arm. And he has lost nothing as he completes it for the touchdown to Schenko. But a penalty flag is down, and it's against the Vikings for an ineligible man downfield. So it's coming back.
Schenko looked like he landed right on his head after he caught that.
Ineligible downfield, 74. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
That's Brian McKinney, one of the huge offensive tackles. All they have to do is lean forward in their downfield. They're so big. 6'8".
Yeah, both of them. Brian McKinney and then his other right tackle, Phil Lodeholt. And you're going to see Brian McKinney right here in the middle. Old big man wanted to get in the action. You know, I mean, when you've got a pass play on with a rollout, those guys aren't supposed to get that far down the field.
I think Brad Childress was surprised to see number 74 in the end zone.
Yeah, but you talk about the size of these tackles, and you know, I know from experience, sometimes you just can't see a receiver when you've got linemen that are that big. And I asked Brett about it the other day, and he said that there's a couple times a game to where he can't make a throw because he can't find the receiver.
Second and goal now, and the pass is caught but out of bounds by Sidney Rice. Well, anything in his area code, he's going to come down with it. 20 seconds left. It's now 3rd and goal.
This is a huge 3rd and goal now for Chicago. I mean, they have had some things that have gone against them. You see the hands there and the strong fingertips by Sidney Rice being able to make that play. I like what the league did, though. He wasn't inbounds there anyway. It didn't matter. But I like what the league did in eliminating, you know, a force out. And so now if you're either inbounds or you're not, whether the defender forced you out, made it real clear for these officials to call.
That's Chester Taylor in motion. 3rd and goal. Quick throw. Schenko. Touchdown. And that for Visanthe Schenko is his 8th of the year, tying Joe Sensor for this franchise record for receiving touchdowns by a tight end.
Pretty good ratio there as far as receptions to touchdowns, and it's just a stick route. You know, down there you just push up, hook it up, and let the quarterback determine whether or not he wants to put the ball on you, and Schenko's a pretty big target to stick it on.
This to make it 24-7. So a turnover. The interception by Jared Allen leads to 7 more points, and for Favre, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And here's the route by Visanthe Schenko.
Yeah, just get across the goal line and turn around, and that's pretty much what they were doing across the board. And you know, Favre dropped back and was looking at him the entire way. And you know, in talking with him, and you mentioned it, Joe, that as good as Schenko has been this year, and I think he's another one of those guys. I said it. I don't want to give Favre credit for everything, but he has elevated the players around him. There's no question or no disputing that. And it's just really, I mean, as Brett said, he said, hey, these guys have always had talent. Sidney Rice has always had talent. Schenko's always had talent. It's just taken somebody to have some confidence in those guys that they can make plays. And he has shown that he believes in them, and we're seeing him make plays.
17 seconds left in the half. For Brett Favre's 70th time with 3 or more touchdown passes in a game. And I'll tell you, you start looking at the balance on this team, and you could make a strong case that even though they have a loss that came at Pittsburgh, that they may be the most dangerous team in the NFC because they can come at you in all 3 phases of the game.
Oh, I think they're the most rounded team in the NFC. I don't think there's any question. I like the Saints if they have home field advantage. But I think if you paired them up against each other, you come away from that argument saying the Vikings are a better team.
Saints have a big date at home on Monday night with the New England Patriots as they will try to stay undefeated. Danielle Manning with a 17-yard return. Brinkley on the stop. The offensive leaders for Chicago. Now 2 more interceptions on the ledger for Jay Cutler. One was a batted ball that went up into the air, picked off by Allen. The other an underthrown ball that was intercepted by Cedric Griffin. He is 16 for 20, has a touchdown throw, a good one to Johnny Knox. However, those are just stats, and it's a 17-point Viking lead with 12 seconds left in the half. Out to the 25-yard line is Matt Forte, and that's it for the first half. And for the Vikings, it just keeps getting better. A season-high 312 yards. Well, Brett Favre put together another good half of football. 20 of 31, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Sage Rosenfels was brought here. Last year it was Tavares Jackson who helped the Vikings finish the season 10-6. Win the division. They lost here at home in a playoff game to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the late addition after the long courtship with Brett Favre. He didn't sign until the 18th of August.
And there's not a bigger Brett Favre fan on this Vikings team than Sage Rosenfels.
Here is Knox from the 15-yard line, and Johnny Knox with Longwell not able to force him out. How about this start to the half? Johnny Knox is going to be forced out of bounds at the 8. There are no penalty flags. Pema downfield to make the play defensively for the Minnesota Vikings, and here's where Knox stepped out. They marked him at the 8.
I'll tell you what, though, what a great return and something that Chicago desperately needed, considering how that first half went. He just puts a little move right there and stays up the sideline, and it's a great way to start this second half for Chicago, getting a short field offensively.
77-yard return. Knox, who has a 102-yarder for a touchdown. And that happened against Detroit week 4, and now what an opportunity for this Chicago offense. Hand off to Forte. He gets nothing. E.J. Henderson got through and made the stop at 2nd and goal.
Yeah, E.J. Henderson is really coming along after that knee injury last year. He comes in and just blows up McKee and is able to make a play then on Matt Forte. A lot of criticisms placed on Matt Forte and him not hitting the hole. I'll tell you, more times than not, there's been nowhere for him to run.
6 carries, 18 yards. That's it for Matt Forte. 2nd and goal. Cutler in trouble. Down he goes. And the sack for Minnesota, it's Ray Edwards. And that's the first sack of the day for the defense that leads the NFL in that category.
Well, Jared Allen comes right around the edge and is putting the pressure then on Jay Cutler, and he tries to step up in the pocket. The pocket in the middle collapses on top of him, and yeah, there's people running open, but if you don't have time to find them, you're not going to get it out.
3rd down and goal. Penalty flags on the play as down goes Cutler again. Jared Allen.
I'm not sure if they're going to call that on Orlando Pace. Jared Allen flinched a little bit, which caused Pace to then flinch, and that's when the flags were thrown.
False start, 76. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
The only thing was Jared Allen did not get into the neutral zone. You see Jared Allen right here. And then that's what caused Orlando Pace, and rightfully so. I mean, Jared Allen has started to pick up his rush on the outside. We've seen the bull rush. Now he's been using the speed rush around Pace. And you better get out of there as quickly as you can. So as soon as Pace anticipates movement, he's moving with him.
The Vikings accepted that penalty. And so the Bears get another crack at it on 3rd and goal. Cutler's in trouble again, and down he goes. No protection whatsoever as Pat Williams gets the sack.
Well, Jared Allen is the one who initiates the pressure again. I talked about the speed move that he was using on the outside. Now he's going to come back underneath. You're going to see him get Pace going up. Bull rush comes down underneath, and then once Cutler has to try to spin out of that. And then you've got Pat Williams.
Oh, man. It's a 38-yard try by Gold. And Gold, one of the best. It's a 24-10 game, and Robbie Gold will kick it away, pops it up. This is Dugan on the return from the 20. And Jeff Dugan fights his way forward to the 33-yard line. On 1st down, Favre to throw, steps up to the sideline, and it's broken up. Good play by Tillman in front of Sidney Rice. Here's Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, Lovie Smith was polite but short. When we spoke at halftime, he spoke a familiar refrain, though. Turnovers are killing us. Defensively, at one point, I noticed in the first half, he gathered up to defense and emphasized that we better get it together. He said the same thing to me as well, but added, we have one half of football to play, and our season is riding on it.
Well, they got the nice start, thank you, Pam, from Johnny Knox on the 77-yard return. Drive started at the 8. And the Chicago offense lost 12 yards of field position on that quote-unquote drive to get the field goal. Favre throws. That's Schenko. Somehow made that catch.
Still don't know why I didn't draft him on my fantasy team.
It's 3rd down and 7. A lot of people saying that.
Yeah.
Though he had a terrific year last year. He is a home run hitter. Favre with the pocket around him, throws, and wide open is Harvin for a Vikings 1st down. So pretty good defense on 1st and 2nd down, but 3rd down defense has let down Chicago. That was good for 12 yards. And the Vikings are now 7 for 10 on 3rd down.
And one of the reasons for that is that he's getting pretty good protection. Brian McKinney Doing a good job there on the outside against Mark Anderson. Mark Anderson, a guy who really bursted on the scene as a rookie and had a heck of a year that year when he had 12 sacks, and since then just has not been able to get after the quarterback like he did that first year.
Favre just throws it into the ground right at the feet of Adrian Peterson, and a flag comes in from the secondary.
Looked like some type of illegal contact defensively.
Pass interference, 81. Offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
How about an offensive pass interference call against Visanthe Shenko? We'll go back and take a look and see what he did.
Yeah, they split Shenko out wide, and you've got Nick Roach, linebacker, that's on him. And I don't know what that's about. I mean, Favre they were looking for the screen. I don't know, but I'm gonna go back to what Pam said as far as Lovie Smith saying, well, once again, turnovers have done us in. I got to tell you, I mean, when your defense gives up over 300 yards of offense, there's a little more to it than just turning the ball over on your own offensive side of the ball.
It's first down and 20. Play action, and right down the middle of the field, Percy Harvin to the 40. 22-yard catch by Percy Harvin, and Brett Favre just fired it right down the middle.
Well, watch him. I mean, a guy that fast, you just can't not give him a free release off the ball. You've got to line a defender over him. You got to reroute him. You allow a guy with that kind of speed to go down the middle against a cover 2 scheme. That's the weakness, and Percy Harvin has done a good job, not just in this game, of finding that hole in the zone over the ball where Favre can find him, but he does it each and every week.
Toss to Peterson running to the left, and the ball comes out. Bears say they have it, and they do. And it was Lance Briggs who knocked it out. For all the brilliance that comes with Adrian Peterson, there is that one negative, which is obviously important. And during the break, it was Brad Childress challenging the call on the field, saying that the ball was out of bounds or not fully in the control of Idonije without it touching the boundary. And so it's a Minnesota challenge right now. The weakness, the fumbles, and that's 2 on the day, and 15 the last 2 seasons, the most by an NFL running back.
And Jimmy Johnson would never play a guy that fumbled like that, but it just kind of speaks to the overall talents and how exceptional Adrian Peterson is. I'm not suggesting they shouldn't be playing him, but what it does speak to is how phenomenal he is, that the Vikings are willing to continually put him out there, even though he has fumbled the ball as much as he has.
Here comes a call from Walt Coleman. Was there enough evidence to overturn the call on the field, which was fumble recovered by Chicago?
After reviewing the play, number 92, who was out of bounds, reaches in and touches the ball while it's loose. It's a fumble out of bounds. It'll be Minnesota's ball, 2nd and 10 at the 40-yard line. They will not be charged a timeout.
So it is a fumble, but the Vikings don't lose the ball, and it's Hillenmeyer, who is clearly on the line, who touches the football right there. And that's what takes it away from the Chicago Bears.
And one of the reasons why he does fumble is you'll see Adrian Peterson keeps the ball in his right hand even when he's running to the left. Fundamentally, he should put the ball in his left arm. Emmitt Smith was the same way. He always carried the ball in his left arm, and so it exposes the ball to the defender when you're then running to that side. Now, Emmitt Smith was not a fumbler. He rarely put the ball on the ground, but it's something that they've just not been able to get Adrian Peterson comfortable with, putting the ball in his left hand when he's running then to the left side.
2nd down and 10 for the Vikings. And a good challenge by Brad Childress. Here's a penalty flag thrown. A pass is complete to Shenko. That flag hit Chester Taylor on his way out into his route and was on his body for a moment. The pass was caught by Shenko, and will get the call from Walt Coleman, who's been busy here this afternoon. 19-yard catch as it is.
Defense lined up in the neutral zone. That penalty's declined. First down.
Well, you mentioned, Troy, that Lovie Smith can't pin this all on turnovers by his offense, and there's been unrest defensively. Not only are the statistics declining, but you think of their Super Bowl year. Ron Rivera was let go after that season. Bob Babich took over, called the defense. This year Lovie Smith is calling the defense, and it has been a steady slide statistically for this group, and they have been taken apart by Minnesota here today. At the quote-unquote start of this 6-game season, here is Chester Taylor, and with a penalty flag down, it's a hold against Minnesota, no touchdown. Right at the goal line. Taylor thinks he has another touchdown. He does not.
Holding, 87, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
So it's a first down, but no touchdown, as Bernard Berrien was guilty of a hold.
Yeah, it just seems like it's probably delaying the inevitable. But Bernard Berrien, I really didn't see much. I could see where, he's frustrated with that call. But, to go back to what you were saying, Joe, as far as Chicago defensively, they've played well in some games, but they really haven't played well against any good offensive teams. They really struggled against Cincinnati. They struggled against Arizona.
Well, they were just taken apart by Cincinnati and Arizona, and it has happened here today. Ball is spotted back at the 15 after the hold by Berrien. Here's a screen for Taylor, and a good play made by Tommy Harris, and another flag. Harris made the stop, and it's an ineligible man downfield.
Pass. Ineligible downfield. 71. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's the rookie Lode Holt, second-round pick out of Oklahoma.
He's got his palms to the air too. He's wondering, what he did wrong.
It's a 14-point game. Penalties starting to pile up, and the ball now back at the 20.
They're backing up a little bit like what Chicago did on their last offensive possession. Got the ball on the 8 and lost 12, 15 yards, whatever it was.
We had 12 yards and kicked the field goal. That's now 7 penalties against the Vikings. And now more movement. Penalty flags, whistles, no play. Gaines Adams was moving up front. Then Favre tried to snap it quickly, and Berrien moved early on the outside.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the defense on it. You're right. Favre recognized that he was offsides and then immediately tried to get the ball snapped before he had time to get back.
Neutral zone infraction. 96. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
They say Alex Brown. We think Gaines Adams either way. Let's take a listen to Favre. That was Gaines Adams, not 96. They called. It was 99. So this is an organization that has a ton of holes to fill, and they don't have a first-round pick or a second-round pick in the upcoming draft. Toss to Peterson running right. Hillenmeyer can't bring him down until he gets inside the 5, and another flag comes in on the tackle.
Walt Coleman's Q rating is going up on this series. Good gosh.
That is 4 straight plays with a penalty flag, and was it on a block or was it on the tackle?
Personal foul. Grasping the face mask. 28. Offense. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. Still first down.
So it was on the tackle, but it was on Peterson getting a grasp of Hillenmeyer's face mask, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gotten Hillenmeyer on it as well. This guy's, I tell you, this guy's such a physical runner. It's amazing. And the one thing I have seen is once he has put the ball on the ground, as we saw, he's done it twice now, but on this possession, I mean, he is a man possessed after that. I'd hate to be one of those 11 guys out there trying to bring him to the ground.
1st and 13 now. Favre throws and misses Chester Taylor.
Well, he had a chance to Chester Taylor. Also, Favre knows it. I mean, that's really the first real poor throw I've seen him make, because Chester Taylor had a step. Like Lance Briggs was in coverage on him, and Chester Taylor has really carved himself out a nice role. And I know that if he was playing for another team, there's a lot of teams around the league that could probably start him, but I think he's probably being used the way that he should here in Minnesota.
2nd down and 13. Favre backpedaling as he throws, and in the direction of Schenko. He and Briggs come together. Briggs ended up on the ground, and Schenko lost his footing, and then the two looked at each other and went, well, no flag, and it was just Schenko tripping.
Yeah, and that was a touchdown. I mean, good call by Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator. They're going to run the stick route that we saw earlier for the touchdown, and then off of that, it's basically a double move. He's going to take the middle of the field. He just stumbled coming out of it, but he certainly had Briggs overrunning that route, and there was nobody else there in the middle.
So it's 3rd and 13. Out of the backfield, it's Taylor. He gets to the 20. That's it. It'll be 4th down as Tillman made the stop, a gain of 3, and Tillman slow to get up.
You know, I asked Charles Tillman. He is slow to get up. He must have hit his helmet there on the tackle. You could see that he is definitely woozy trying to get back up to his feet.
We will have a field goal try coming up from Longwell that will be roughly 38 yards in length, and here is the end of the play. Tillman and Taylor, and Tillman got that right elbow of Tommy Harris against the back of his helmet. Charles Tillman, who forced 3 fumbles last Sunday night against the Eagles, was dinged on that tackle of Chester Taylor, and now a 38-yard try by Longwell, who's 1 for 1. Hit from 52 his first try, and from 38 he drills it. Well, what kind of an answer will Jay Cutler and the Bears have as they now trail by 17? Vikings have scored on 5 of their last 6 possessions. Defense for Chicago is not doing much of anything, and Daniel Manning, who has 1 good return in this game, doesn't have another as he's out to the 23. How about the playoff picture? The Saints, we know, are undefeated. They play Monday night at home against the Patriots. They're 10-0. Vikings are 9-1. You know, these Minnesota Vikings and their fans will be watching that game with a purpose on Monday night. The other 2 division leaders and the wild card leaders right now, Green Bay and Philadelphia at 7-4. The Giants play next Sunday late at home against the division leading Dallas Cowboys, and the Giants have lost 5 of 6.
And you can take Chicago off of that graphic if they don't win here today.
Handoff is to Forte, running to his left. One of his better runs of the day, out to the 30, a gain of 7. The NFC East has the Cowboys, who won on Thanksgiving easily at home over Oakland, 8-3. The Eagles, now the Cowboys have already defeated the Eagles in Philadelphia, and the 2 will match up in the final weekend of the season in Dallas. And then the Giants, who lost at Denver 26-6 on Thanksgiving night. 2nd down and 3. Cutler, Forte, and Forte is short of the 1st down, a gain of 2. Cedric Griffin made the stop.
I tell you, the New York Giants, I mean, as bad as they've played, though, Joe, if they were able to beat Dallas next week, having beaten them in week 2, I mean, they climb right back into the middle of it.
Handoff, actually Cutler takes it, and we'll see where they spot it. Right at the marker. Ray Edwards comes out of there with a football, but Cutler may have been stopped short. Now Ray Edwards hands the ball back, and it looks like he's short with our unofficial yellow line. The Giants in that game, by the way, on Thanksgiving night at Denver, had 38 first half yards. And it was a comeback game of sorts for the Denver Broncos to end up 7-4. They trail in the AFC West to the Chargers 7-3, and the Chargers winning big today over Kansas City. So now it's 4th down.
You know, it's 17-point difference here with 6.5 minutes to play. Yeah, I know Lovie Smith's sitting here looking at this saying, you know, we're going to go for it, but to have any chance, I mean, you just can't take that risk. And Cutler took a pretty good shot here at the end of that play by Ray Edwards, right on his throwing shoulder.
So that's the second time in this game that the Vikings have held the defense on 3rd down and 1. First time it was Forte. This time it's Cutler. And with 6:20 and counting left in the 3rd quarter, a punt from Maynard. Fair catch called for by Reynaud. 6:12 left in the 3rd quarter, and we get to see more from this Vikings offense. Comparison of the two quarterbacks. 3 touchdowns, no picks for Favre. Still only 3 all year, which is a stunning total. And Cutler 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Well, Favre has averaged 17 of them, you know, over 18 seasons. So I don't want to jinx him, but he is due.
Handoff is to Peterson. And Adrian Peterson, a lot of effort, but just a 2-yard run.
And I say due. I mean, to go 3 games without an interception is pretty good for any quarterback, but to only have 3 when over the course of 18 years you've been averaging 17 interceptions a season. I think the longer this regular season goes without him throwing interceptions, the more nervous I would get if I was Brad Childress or this Vikings team, because odds are he's gonna have a big game where he's gonna have 3 or 4 of them, and you just hope that it doesn't occur once they get into postseason play, and he has done that as well.
Favre has had 3 or more in a single game 36 times in his career. He throws here, and it's caught by Schenko, who's been busy. Targeted 10 times last week against Seattle. He's good for 2 yards here. Meanwhile, Favre, as many know, is the all-time leader for career interceptions with 313, but he's now up to 20+ touchdowns, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his first year with the Vikings.
I'll tell you, this is a big down right here, I think, for Chicago, because with time running down, they need to make a stop and get the ball back. You know, some would say, why didn't you go for it on 4th down, Chicago? But I think they did the right thing in punting, but only if then their defense can make a stop.
It's 3rd down and 5. Favre pulls it back and hits Tahi, the fullback, and he has a first down. Nafahu Tahi is good for 7. Graham on the tackle, and a first down for Minnesota.
Yeah, I've always wondered why they didn't involve Tahi more. You know? Yeah. But this is, you know, you talk about the only 3 interceptions, and this is one of the big reasons why. In fact, even Brett said that, you know, on 3rd and long, not that this was real long down in distance, he's more willing to come underneath to his backs. And this time, nothing down the field. Rather than force something, throw it underneath, and they pick the first down up.
It's a 7th different receiver he's hit. 4 of his receivers have 5 catches. A toss to Peterson running right, a little room out there, and Adrian Peterson is just shy of the 40. It'll be 2nd down and 10. I think to further your point, what Brett Favre said was he knows his defense is so good. He doesn't have to force it on 3rd and long. He's willing to come up a little short, play the field position game, and let his defense go out there and make some plays. On 2nd and 10, that pass is behind Adrian Peterson. 3rd down.
Well, we haven't seen Brett Favre get hit a lot, but Adewale Ogunleye, he came in, did a nice move over there on Phil Lodeholt, the rookie tackle, and got a pretty good hit there on Favre.
We showed the graphic earlier. 282nd consecutive regular season game for Brett Favre here today. That ties ex-Vikings defensive end Jim Marshall's NFL record. or most by a non-kicker in the history of this league.
That's a record I just don't think will ever be broken.
On 3rd down and 10, Favre slings it and completes it. Bernard Berrien has been one of his favorite targets here today. 18 yards on 3rd and 10.
Boy, you watch this and these routes that are being run by these receivers, there's just so much air out there for the ball to be thrown. The safety, Afalava, he overruns that, expecting Berrien to maybe run a comeback, and because he overran it, it created just a wide open window there for Brett Favre to lay that into Berrien. You know, Berrien's a guy that Chicago let go and never should have. They'd love to have him back.
Penalty flag on the play, and it's broken up by Hillenmeyer. But when you consider who Bernard Berrien was receiving passes from, it's, you know, no mystery as to why they were saying, okay, well, he takes off. Yeah, they wanted to bring him back, but the Vikings saw something they liked. He had the big year last year. It's an illegal shift.
Illegal shift, 2 men moving and not resetting. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
I mean, you're talking about Berrien getting passes from Chad Hutchinson and Craig Krenzel and different quarterbacks over the years.
What's your point?
My point is now he's catching balls from Brett Favre, and
I know.
Got 5
but
for 6
I will tell you that you know, that staff, I don't think ever thought they were going to lose Bernard Berrien. I think they knew what they had, and then for whatever reason they were just unable to keep him.
What's your point?
He's pretty good.
That'll be 5 yards on the offense, I would think. I mean, the center just didn't snap it. Everybody else moved. We'll see.
False start, number 4, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That is the 9th Viking penalty of the game. You talk about a fan. The artist currently known as Prince is still here.
And he hasn't changed expression since we started showing him.
That might be a cutout. Changes his name more than his expression. Is it? Second and 15. Let's go down to Pam as Rice makes the catch.
Joe, Charles Tillman remains on the sideline for this series. He's taken some oxygen, had an ice pack on his neck at one point, but the Bears say he is just still being evaluated. Meantime, Zachary Bauman just limped into the locker room. We're waiting official word on his injury, and Orlando Pace has a groin injury, and he's questionable.
All right, Pam, thank you. So all the players getting banged up in this game, and his defense now playing without Tillman. 3rd down and 8 for Brett Favre. It's been a day of conversions on 3rd down. Is that another? How about Percy Harvin? Is he tough? Going up to make the catch down the middle of the field, taking a hit and hanging on.
Well, let me show you why. The linebackers come up tough. They come linebacker tough, and then they've got to drop underneath that route. And because they were lined up in the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball, it was just enough to hold them and allow then Percy Harvin to get in behind Hillenmeyer. Hillenmeyer in that coverage as the middle linebacker is responsible for deep middle. That's that Tampa Bay cover 2 that you hear so much about. But when you're up that tight at the line of scrimmage, even though it was a good job on his part because Percy Harvin has great speed, it just wasn't good enough.
How about 10 out of 14 on 3rd down for Minnesota? 71% they're converting on 3rd down against the Chicago defense and delay a game before the timeout.
Yeah, that happens a lot on a big play when you get something down the field, trying to get those big guys up front. The linemen back down into a huddle because they start that play clock immediately. It's not surprising to me, but I know it is for our viewers how many times a quarterback is rushed or is forced to burn a timeout after a big play for that reason.
Under a minute to go in this 3rd quarter. And there's more to be said about that catch by Harvin. Not just the coverage. Here's Peterson. And Hillenmeyer is on his back and drags Peterson down at the 9. I mean, how much would you and did you as a quarterback love a guy, young or old, and Harvin's a rookie, who will go up over the middle and make a catch in traffic, get a hit, and hang on?
Well, here's what's remarkable about Percy Harvin. You're absolutely right, Joe. You like that about anybody. But here is a guy who's a rookie. And I think outside of quarterback, playing as a rookie at wide receiver is the hardest position. And yet he's doing it without much experience, having run those types of routes there at the University of Florida.
So a groin injury for Orlando Pace. He walks off the field. Meanwhile, Brett Favre has 382 yards passing in this game. That's only 20 yards off his career high.
And that's, I guess, the only thing I've ever done that he hasn't. I threw for more than that once.
Well, it came at Chicago, and we're just starting the fourth quarter. How much more will he play? Here is Peterson on second down, takes it down inside the 5 to the 4. I mean, I think your Super Bowls count for something.
Yeah, no question. But you know, I think, Joe, if they're able to score here, then Favre will be done, and rightfully so. And you know, think back to last week against Seattle, and you know, for him to be able to come off of the field in that game and allow Tavares Jackson some playing time, that was key. I mean, one, because Tavares Jackson practices just like everybody else, and let him get out there and play. But you never know. I mean, and if he has to come back and play in a meaningful game, those reps are very important.
Third down and goal. Is he going to get his fourth? That is Taylor, and what a good play. Good play made by Jamar Williams, the linebacker, who came up and drove right through the chest of Chester Taylor to bring up fourth down.
Yeah, Jamar Williams in there because of Lance Briggs not being in the game, and comes over and makes a nice play here.
So now a 20-yard try by Longwell, a chip shot. 2 for 2 today. And 17 of 18 for the season. Now 18 of 19. 13:36 left in this game. The Vikings have now added to their lead. It's a 20-point lead, their biggest of the day. They have outgained the Bears 475 total yards to 169. And Ryan Longwell hit from 20 to cap that last drive that was highlighted on that 31-yard catch by Percy Harvin. And Johnny Knox, who has a fumble and a long kick return of 77 yards, is waiting for this one. Orlando Pace is back out, sitting on the bench. We'll take inventory as to who's on the offensive line when the Bears offense heads onto the field. Knox can't make the 20. And we look at the numbers: time of possession, total yards, plays, across the board, Troy, and that's what we came on the air talking about, that Brad Childress still thinks that better game is out there. This is pretty good this afternoon against the Bears.
Yeah, in fact, last week against Seattle, he thought that was about as good a game as they had played up to that point. Still not a complete ball game, but I would agree with you. I think this is about as good as you can expect to dominate an opponent. So, you know, they got to feel good about that. I think when you start looking at these teams, whether it's New Orleans or Indianapolis, Minnesota, you start looking at what they do from this point forward, and do they continue to get better and play their best football.
Jared Allen gets another. You saw Kevin Schaefer now at left tackle. A tight end, Kellen Davis, was over there, and Jared Allen still fought his way through.
Well, what he did was they had two guys on him. They had Kellen Davis as well as Greg Olsen, but he jumps inside on Kellen Davis, and so even though there were two guys there to block him, he immediately eliminated Olsen's help and just went one-on-one there with Kellen Davis and went right by him.
Vikings have 3 sacks on the day. Jared Allen gets his first. He has 11.5 on the season. Number 1 in the NFC at the start of the day. 2nd and 19. And a little flip to Khalil Bell. And Khalil Bell gets a big hit from Adieu Williams. A gain of just 5.
I will say this about Jay Cutler. I mean, we've talked a lot about him here today. He's been scrutinized, as we well know. He continues to play. And people want to look at his body language and try to draw conclusions from that as to whether or not the game's important to him. I can promise you, you don't get to the NFL without being a competitor. This guy's as competitive as they come. And in games like this, and we've seen it all year, when the offense has done nothing, he continually is back there doing everything he can. Not always doing it well, but he competes play after play.
It's 3rd down and 14. Cutler has to avoid pressure and now just hop out of bounds. And he keeps peeling himself up off the carpet or off the grass and coming after the opponent, getting very little protection.
You know, Joe, a couple weeks ago when they lost to San Francisco at San Francisco, they had the long flight back all the way to Chicago. And when they arrived at about 5 a.m., most of the players, in fact all of the players, went home to get some rest. Jay Cutler went to the facility and watched the film after 5 interceptions.
A 20-point lead, and Brett Favre is back to the field and handing off to Adrian Peterson. And Peterson just will not go down, out just across the 40. He gained 8. For the Vikings, this is the first time in their franchise history that they've had 5 different receivers have at least 5 catches in one game. Harvin, Rice, and Taylor with 6. Berrien and Schenko with 5. Peterson, by the way, just has 2 catches. First time Brett Favre has ever done that in his 19-year career.
I think that speaks to just the number of weapons that this team has.
2nd down and 2. He goes backward. Harrison made the stop. Jared Allen is over on the bench with a split lip, and in case it needed an explanation, here's how it happened.
You know, a lot of the writers and stuff today will ask, hey, what happened to all the characters? Where have all the characters in pro football gone? And it's a different game, and everything's so heavily scrutinized. He is one of the great characters in the game today. He did for the defense last year what Favre did for this offense this year.
Allen has a sack and an interception in this game as Adrian Peterson plows forward for a 1st down.
I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Adrian Peterson here on out.
And another 3rd down conversion for this Vikings offense. 11 of 16. Meanwhile, Brett Favre is 19 yards away from a new career high throwing the football. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised that his career high is 402. I don't want to say just 402, but he's closing in on that. I don't know if he's going to get there, if he's going to have to throw the ball much more in this game as the Vikings try and take time off the clock. Here's one throw. That'll add to it. Berrien gets his 6th catch, and that was 8 more yards. Bowman on the stop.
I mean, it's really kind of unfair. I mean, it certainly has been today for the Chicago Bears, but you know, it's been that way for virtually every team that they've played. I mean, everybody talks about wanting to be balanced, and yet the Vikings are one of the few teams that truly are. I mean, coming into this game, they were 10th in the NFL rushing the football, and they were 10th in the NFL throwing the football. And as we've witnessed in this game, they can just come at you with so many different things and people. How do you stop it?
Favre throws, and contact made on Schenko by Roach. Penalty flag is thrown. So the Vikings are still throwing the football around on 2nd down and short, and Schenko was interfered with.
Pass interference, 53. Defense. Ball will be placed in the spot of the foul. 1st down.
And to me, Troy, the difference between the Vikings and any other team in the NFC, in particular, as Favre shakes out that right hand.
I'd get him out immediately.
Yeah.
I'd take him out right now.
But you think about the Saints, I mean, it's the running game that the Vikings have that sets them apart from the Saints in my mind, and obviously that defense and the defensive front that they sport here in Minneapolis.
And that's no slight on the Saints either, because they've gotten so much better on defense. I just think it comes down to where that game's played.
Here is Chester Taylor over the left side with Williams making the stop. Gain of 9.
You know, we talk about the Vikings and Saints as though they're going to be the team that, you know, is having home field advantage. I wouldn't discount the Cowboys. You know, Eagles, I don't know, but at 3 losses with the Cowboys, you know, they're only 2 games back right now. You don't see Minnesota losing enough, but it could happen.
Here's an end around Percy Harvin down to the 5. And now just emptying part of the playbook as Nick Roach made the stop. Any way the Vikings can get the ball in the hands of Percy Harvin, they'll try and do it. And this one for Harvin gets a 1st and goal as a result. That last one 10 yards on that end around for Harvin.
Yeah, I go back to kind of what I touched on a little bit earlier, Joe. I just think that the personnel department, Rick Spillman and his staff, the job that they've done putting together this roster in a short period of time.
Here is Peterson to the 5. The interesting thing is, with as well as this team is playing and all of the fan fervor that they have for this version of the Minnesota Vikings, the lease in this dome for this Vikings team is up in 2011. So that situation's coming to a head, and while it's Ziggy Wilf's ambition to come up with a retractable roof stadium, you know, you think about the Favre effect, mention it for Childress. Brett Favre might help this organization build a new stadium in 1 year.
Hey, Parcells got the stadium through in Dallas, and there's no reason to think that Brett Favre can't help in those efforts here in Minneapolis.
It's 2nd and goal. Hand off to Peterson, and he'll walk in. Touchdown. So it's 36-10 with the extra point coming. That should be the end of the day for Brett Favre. 6.5 minutes remaining in this game, and this Chicago Bears defense has given up 518 total yards to the Minnesota Vikings. And they are over their season average, coming in number 2 in the NFL. The Vikings at basically 30.5 points per game. They trail just the Saints, who are a fraction under 37. And here's the only thing that didn't go right: an extra point. There's the day for Brett Favre, 10 yards shy of his career high. And you have to believe his day is finished. The Tennessee Titans on the last play of the game just beat the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sure we'll have a game break coming. An 0-6 start for Tennessee, and now they've won 5 straight. Danielle Manning on the return. 30-yard return by Manning. 36-10, Vikings lead. Now the defense is on the field. Jared Allen still in the game. Starting at their own 40, down by 26. And a toss to Forte, running left, who's in on the stop. That was Heath Farwell. Here's Devin Hester, who has not been a factor in this game at all. Pema on the coverage. It's 3rd down and 9, and Vince Young, 387 passing yards in that game and 5 straight wins. Young has completely resurrected his career with the Titans.
No doubt. I mean, for him to come in and have the game that he had today, I mean, a lot of people question whether or not he can throw the ball the way that he threw it today, but good for him. I mean, that's a young man playing with a great deal of confidence right now.
Titans haven't lost since their head coach Jeff Fisher put on that Peyton Manning jersey. Maybe some other head coaches might want to try out that. As Jared Allen makes the play, he gets another sack. His 2nd of the day.
Well, he was working on Orlando Pace earlier. Now he's going to work out Kevin Schaefer, who came in and took his place. And I mean, you just can't put one guy on him, and I don't know why anybody thinks that you can, because he's proven everyone wrong who's tried.
We would like to welcome those of you who have been watching that thrilling game in Nashville. The comeback and the win by Vince Young and the Titans. They've won 5 straight. Here it has been all Minnesota, and I mean all Minnesota, as the punt is untouched by Raynaud, waiting for it. 518 yards allowed by the Bears, the most since 1982. The December game against the LA Rams 428 games ago. And it's the 4th best day throwing the football yardage wise for Brett Favre. 392 yards against Chicago. Here's Chester Taylor running to his right, cuts it back as he got the toss from Tavares Jackson, who this season is 10 of 15, 159 yards, and last year helped take this Minnesota team into the playoffs, and they won the division at 10-6.
Yeah, but I think it was that performance in the playoff game that, you know, really pointed out to this organization that they needed to get better at that position if they could. They went out then and got Sage Rosenfels, but you know, in that game last year in the playoffs against Philadelphia, 164 yards passing, completed 42%, and they just really struggled putting anything together.
2nd down and 5, and Chester Taylor, free agent to be, is a yard short of a 1st down. We talked about the playoff picture with the 4 division leaders, and the Saints and the Vikings are the 2 big threats in the NFC right now. Arizona, they lost today. A lot of you just joined us from that game. The wild card leaders, 2 7-4 clubs, Green Bay and Philly, with the Giants behind them, and the Giants have a date at home against the Dallas Cowboys late next Sunday.
Big game next Sunday. And looking at those teams, I like the Green Bay Packers right now. I mean, it looks to me, if I was a bet man, I'd say they'll make it as a wild card team. And what we've seen the last couple of weeks, they're starting to pull it together.
Yeah, they're really hitting their stride as Adrian Peterson is back in the game and picks up a 1st down. Some other numbers from today's game. Percy Harvin, career best. It's his rookie year. 6 catches, 101 receiving yards, 45 rush yards. And in the second half, the Bears offense, and you heard Lovie Smith tell Pam Oliver, Pam told us that this is the big half of football and a must-win game. The offense in the second half, 12 plays, 2 yards, no 1st downs.
I think that's the disappointing part, Joe. They've not played well, but when you throw all your eggs in the basket and you say, hey, this is a must-win game, we have to win this to have any chance to salvage our season, and then you come out and play like this.
Yeah, they just came in here and got smoked. 3-yard gain by Peterson over the left side.
Sorry, Joe. Going back to Brett Favre, when he signed with the Minnesota Vikings, there was a lot of questions, and I'd say that I was one of them that was wondering how this AstroTurf, this field turf, was going to affect him. He's played all of his career there at Lambeau, grass field, and to come here and then be forced to play at least 8 games here at home on turf, and in talking with him, he said his body feels the best it's felt. I mean, it has not been a beating on him playing on a hard surface, whereas for so many other players, it's a real problem.
It's 2nd down and 8, and it's Adrian Peterson who just keeps churning those legs, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning. Some of the banged up players for the Bears. Briggs with a knee. Tillman got dinged, and Orlando Pace with a groin injury. Now it's kneel down time for Tavares Jackson. Bears have all 3 of their timeouts remaining, but thankfully they're not choosing to use any of them. OT is coming up as Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy bring you exclusive interviews, extended highlights, and reveal the new BCS standings. You'll also hear from Vince Young, who led Tennessee on that 99-yard game-winning drive in that win today, and they have won 5 straight, trying to stay alive in the AFC. Bring up 3rd down. Upcoming schedule for Minnesota, they'll be 10-1, and they go to Arizona next. That'll be a night game. That game was taken by NBC. That's now a night game. Then at home against Cincinnati, at Carolina, at Chicago, and they will end the season at home against the Giants. And at some point, if the Vikings are in a situation, it'll be interesting to see how they play it with Brett Favre. If they're in one of those spots where they've clinched their division, they're as good as they can be, they can't overtake, let's say, New Orleans.
Right.
Does he play in a ball game?
Well, I don't think that he would, but in all likelihood, the way these 2 teams are going, you know, they may not know the answer to that one until the last weekend of the season.
Jay Cutler got off to a good start in this game, but it really fizzled after that. He was not protected at all. There is no ground game for the Chicago Bears, and the defense for Chicago didn't stop anything. You saw that quick look at their upcoming schedule. All you really need to know is they will host St. Louis next week and then host the Green Bay Packers. We are finished here in the home of the Vikings, who are 10-1.